So here's where we get to the slog part of the first week of an internet programming class, where we just kind of need to go through the tags that are available and have a conversation about them. And it's always kind of a slow process. Notice in Sublime, and Brackets will do this for you as well. If you downloaded Notepad++, it will do this. When you have an opening and closing tag, if you go over to the left of the opening tag, you'll see that you can collapse tags down if you need space on your screen. So here I've got an opening paragraph tag. If I slide over to the side, I should be able to collapse that chunk of tags down. And that frees up a little bit of screen space. I'm going to arrow down. So the next thing we're going to talk about is header tags. So these are the headings like you would have in Microsoft. If you're doing a Microsoft Word document and you needed a page title or section titles. So we have header tags. And header tags are simply H, and then the levels run 1 through 6. So you do a header 1 and a closing header 1. You can have a header 2. You can have, oops, I messed that up, tab. You can have a header 3. You can have header 4. Header 5, H5. And the last header level that you can have is header level 6. And again, we're not going to worry about changing how things look right now. When we get into style sheets, we'll worry about this. But I just need a header name between them. So we have different headers. They generate different size headings. So what do we want to call this? This is a heading. There we go. And then I'll just copy and paste that text repeatedly. So copy and paste. And these are this is a block level element. So it defines a rectangular space on the page, and you can apply padding and margins to this. I'm going to go Control Save. And if I pop over into my browser, I go Control Refresh on my browser. And it looks like I have a stray. Oh, right there, I copied and pasted one. See that outside the HTML? See, he's showing up as a stray over here. Let's get rid of him. Control Save. Control Refresh. There we go. So those are the different heading sizes that you can have. And each of these is a block level element. They're actually carving on the page. They're actually carving out their own rectangular region. That is the width of the entire page, actually. So when I say that, what I mean is the rectangular region ooh, that's being a pain. Let's make him red and some thick pen. So when I say that it's carving out a rectangular region, even though you don't see the rectangle goes across the entire width of the page, and it has some height to it. And each of these headers carves out a rectangular region on the entire page, regardless the width of the page. So the rectangular region doesn't just stop at the end of the heading. It actually defines a rectangular region, the width of the page, with the set height and width. And now I've got to find where my pen tool go hiding to. Let's wipe that stuff off and get rid of that. I love the pen tool, and then I hate the pen tool. So those are just headers. And then there's another block level element that's really useful. I'm going to go ahead and expand these paragraphs back out. Let's go ahead and expand those back out. There's a block level element called div, which is just short for division. And all a div is, so it's a div. All a div is a empty container, and you can put things into that container, and it's not going to be so interesting right now when we're not using style sheets yet, but it will turn out that div or these divisions or empty containers can be styled and are incredibly useful. So what I'm going to do is put these two paragraphs and this horizontal rule inside of a div. So here I need to close that division, and I want to make sure that my indentation level with my opening div corresponds to my indentation with my closing div. And then these paragraphs now are actually inside of that division, so I want to highlight them and hit tab and indent them so it's visually obvious to the reader that they are inside of, that the paragraphs now and the horizontal rule are inside of the division. And in fact, if I collapse the division, all of the paragraphs, the two paragraphs and the horizontal rule are collapsed into the opening and closing division. So I've just put a container around them. Again, not super interesting right now, but what we're going to see moving forward is I can style these containers to make them look, behave, appear the way that I want them to using cascading style sheets or CSS. And note that this div isn't indented inside of the body of the page. So that's a division. It's just an empty container. So I'm going to do two inline elements next. One is emphasis or M. So if I put the M tag, which is short for emphasis, around some text, so closing emphasis tag, and another tag, strong, if I put the strong tag around a group of text, what we want to do is look and see how this changes the text. So there's the closing strong tag. So I have M for emphasis, and the default for emphasis I believe is going to be to italicize the text, and strong is another way of making text stand out. And the default behavior is going to be to make the text bold. But both of these, when we get into style sheets, we'll be able to dictate the behavior of the M tag and the strong tag by using style sheets to get those tags to do what we want them to do. If I hit save now, and then I refresh my browser, what you're going to see is the M tag right here took this text and italicized it, and the strong tag made this text bold. Again, this would be behavior that we would use style sheets to control. Now these are strong and M are inline. So notice how they show up inline or in the flow of the paragraph. They do not create their own rectangular region that spans the width of the screen, and that's part of the spirit of inline. It means it can be done in line with other things without disrupting the flow of what's going on. Whereas when you do block level elements, each one winds up defining its own screen boundary. So one of the important things to realize with inline tags, so if I make a copy of this, and let's say I step out of the division tag right here, and I paste in an emphasis tag. So it's in the body of the web page, but it's not inside of the division. It's not inside of a paragraph. It's not inside of something else other than just being displayed on the body of the web page or the body of the browser. So if I save this and I refresh, shows up right here. Here's the text I just brought outside of the body of the browser, lorem ipsum dolor. So the web page displayed it just fine, but now let's look at what happens if I try to validate the code that I have. So I'm going to choose File, choose my index page, and I'm going to revalidate my code, and now I have an error showing up. And it's only a single error, but it says document type does not allow M here. In other words, I can't put the M tag where I put it. It says missing one of these other tags. And here's the key. These other tags that are being listed are all block level tags. So the key with an inline tag, the key always is that it must be inside of a block level tag that is defining a rectangular region on the screen. The inline tags cannot stand alone, and if you try to validate a document where you've put an inline tag outside of block level elements, you will always get an error.